Alright, so we got another Math Visa video here for you today. So your Visa video is on the fact that you can solve a literal equation. So, literal equations are things that model things that happen in the real world. So, anything that you can think of that has a relationship between different variables that change in the real world, that's what we call a literal equation. So, the one that we have here is the volume formula, okay? So what we're going to do with this formula is we're asked to solve for a given variable h. So we're going to highlight that variable in question just like we did when we solved for y so that we can tell ourselves, okay, how am I going to get h by itself? So in this case, since L and W are multiplied with h, we can move those two variables to the other side by completing the opposite operation. So in this case, we would divide both sides by LW. But again, what we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So in this case, now h has been alone because L over L is 1, W over W is 1, so h is now by itself. So we get h is equal to V over L W. Now again, we always like our solved variable for that to be on the left-hand side, so we're going to leave it as h is equal to V over L times W. Okay, so that's one of the more simpler ones. When everything's multiplied together, it's much easier. You just have to divide by those variables that are in front of that wanted variable to be solved for. The next thing that we're going to also look at is a little bit tougher question. So if I have to solve for c here, I want to eliminate all fractions when I solve literal equations, especially if the variable is in the top or the numerator of the fraction. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try and eliminate the n from in this fraction. Since it's divided, I do the opposite on both sides and multiply by n. So now the n goes away on the right side and I get n times p is equal to r minus c. So now I want to solve for c still. So the other variable in question that needs to be moved is the r. So I need to subtract the r from both sides. Since there's an imaginary plus in front right here, I'm going to subtract it. So then I get n times p minus r is equal to negative c. Well, the problem is that c is still not by itself. So what we need to do to solve for c is divide by a negative 1 and divide all terms on the other side by that negative 1 as well. Since we got rid of the negative, c is solved for, and we get c is equal to, now np has a negative sign in front of it because we divided by negative, and now because we had negative over negative for r, we get plus r. So c is equal to negative np plus r. And again, highlight that variable. That's really going to help you solve any literal equation. Alright, so what I want you to do for bonus, solve this for x. Enjoy!